Okay, welcome to the Swing Trading with Cycles channel. It's December 30th, 2022. So we have our last candle for 2022. It's done. The yearly candle is closed. And obviously that means the December candle is closed as well. We're going to look at platinum today. We're also going to look at a few miners. I know a lot of people are talking about platinum. I did my last update a couple weeks ago. And you're going to take a look at a pinned tweet, or excuse me, a pinned comment in the comment section. So it should be very easy to find, which will have some great reference materials for you. It'll have the playlist for all of the previous platinum videos. You can just sort that by time, like newest uploaded, to kind of catch up on the story, as it were. And also there's a Cycles 101, if you're not familiar with that. And just a deeper dive into swing lows and swing highs. TLDR, a swing low is how an uptrend begins. A swing high is how a downtrend begins. So as an investor, as a person who wants to make money in the market, it would behoove you to buy after swing lows and sell after swing highs. And that's what we talk about on this channel. We talk about trying to buy after the important swing lows and making sure that we're protecting ourselves, we're mitigating risk when we spot a swing high. That's how we time the markets, not by predicting, but by analyzing with great precision. So let's get to it. This is platinum. This is our daily chart. I tweeted about this. If you're not following on Twitter, definitely take a look for a link in the description. As I mentioned in the previous video, platinum has these really long daily cycles. This is your daily chart we're looking at here. And you can see we kind of grind it up here all the way up to day 51. And it looked like maybe this was a bottom here on day 57. So this would have been a relatively short decline, right? So we would have our top on day 51 and then day 52, 3, and then down to 57. But now hindsight being 2020, it looks more like that was still our top. That obviously hasn't changed, but that was our low, right? On day 80, is that possible? I don't see why not. Platinum has these really long daily cycles. Look at this one that was 75 days. It happens, folks. Price does what it wants to do. This was 72 days. For some reason, platinum tends to go for longer, right? The rallies last for longer, the declines last for longer, for whatever. I mean, this was a 60-day rally, right? Like this grind up here. So this topped out on day 51, and then we bottomed on, call it day 80. So 30 days of decline. But in reality, it was less a decline and more of just a chop zone that was really just a bull flag, right? So, and not to mention the other thing about this is an undercut low of this, right? Like you can imagine, so what's the low here? 975.17, and this is a low at 971. So $4. So you can imagine how many stops got triggered, right? Like that were right below here. And then now you have people chasing. This is your daily chart. And so to my mind, that suggests to me, my friends, we're on day 5 of a new daily cycle. Woot woot. Now, the broader market is moving into a weekly cycle decline. So you want to be aware of that. And we're also late in the weekly cycle for platinum too. And we'll look at that next. But this is pretty exciting. Not to mention this is just a gargantuan bull flag after this. So I'll get rid of this. And so this was your DCL, right? Either way, like I always say this, like the cycle counts are less important than the price action. What this is nothing short of a massive double bottom, right? Slash fake breakdown, right, folks? Think about that. We broke down below this low and then we went whoop in the other direction, right? What's the percentage gain so far? So from Pico bottom to where we closed on Friday, we're up about 11%. That's a lot for platinum, for the shiny metal. Okay, so that's really interesting. So day 5 of a new daily cycle, huh? And I started on the daily chart just to kind of really orient us on like where are we right now. But let's just take a step back for a second, friends. Let's look at the annual chart. Since the annual chart just closed, let's get rid of all this stuff. So as I talked about in that last update, this annual chart, and just to be clear, especially if you're new to this channel, this is how we like to zoom out and look at these yearly candles. Each candle here is an entire year of price action. It's big picture, right? Big picture. This was red at one point, and it made a lower low below this low, right? So this is your 2021 candle. This is your 2022 candle. Again, this just closed, so it's done. It's all over, folks. This 2021 candle had a high at 1339 and a low at 1885. So at one point, we were below 1885. It looked ugly. It looked like we were trying to seek out this low here, which is in the mid 500s. Now, it doesn't mean we may not still revisit that. But right now, what is happening in real time is a bullish outside yearly candle is trying to form. In this case, it would be a compound candle because the candle just closed, obviously, and we didn't make it. And to be clear, what a bullish outside candle is a candle. So an outside candle, just in general, is a candle that makes a new low and a new high relative to the previous candle. So, and this is an example of a bullish outside candle, a perfect example. This candle made a new low below this candle, right? So this low here is 780. We were way below that because the low of this candle is 564. And then we went, so we made a new low, and then we were red. When we were down here, we were very red. It was a big red candle, something like this, something like that. That was before it closed. And then we had a furious rally, which is what created this lower wick. And then we made a higher high. So again, the candle makes a lower low and a higher high, and it closes green. That's bullish. That's your bullish outside candle. That usually you expect follow through. And at one point we did get follow through. That's the other thing. Like you want to make sure you understand that when you see an upper wick, it means the candle was green. When you see a lower wick, it means the candle was red. It means those conditions were reversed. Or I should say, right, that the candle was green, but it went red, right? Or it was green, or it was red, but it went green, right? In this case, it was green. It was a bright green candle, had made a nice higher high all the way up to 1339, right? Considering this high here is like 1100, nice $200 above here. And then it just failed. And so to be clear, once this started to happen, you were at risk of this becoming a bearish outside candle. You've got to understand these things, folks. Like that would have been crazy volatility to have a bearish outside candle followed by, a bullish outside candle followed by a bearish outside candle like 1 year after the next. So far we haven't gotten that. And what we may be setting up here, I'll just draw it out again. We talked about this in the previous video, but it would do something like this. That would be your next candle, right? Or that would complete the pattern. So the combination of these two candles will be an outside candle of this, right? A new low and then a new high above that. So that's what we want to watch for. That is the bullish sort of scenario. That's the bullish outcome that we want to be open to. We want to make sure that we understand. In terms of what we have on the board right now, in terms of swing lows, we have a big, beautiful swing low in Q3 that actually is from September. So as long as we stay above 973, we have a quarterly swing low in place. And if we zoom into the monthly chart, we can see where that candle comes from, where that swing low comes from. It's this September candle. This is why I keep saying September appears to be a turning point for precious metals. You know, this is also when gold made its low. It's when silver made its low. It's when the gold to silver ratio made its low. There's something magical about September. Doesn't mean this can't resolve into a lower high, but I mean, this is a pretty bullish move so far. Now, what is important to note is that we're going to need a pullback at some point, right? Like this is a pretty massive sort of like up leg. And so at some point it's going to need to consolidate its gains like this move here. And let's just draw that out to make sure that everyone can kind of see that. So we did this, that, and now we're doing this. So at some point we're going to need to do this. And then the bullish case would be doing something like that, right? And of course, what could end up happening is we do something like that, and then that. And then we resume the downtrend. So we just want to be mindful of what outcome looks like it's playing out, right? And this is month 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So December was month 3. January will be month 4, potentially of a new long-term cycle for platinum, which is also signaling that we have a long-term cycle for gold and other precious metals. And that's after a massive decline. Topped out on month 11, or a really long decline, I should say, really. So 19 months of decline after an 11-month rally. Pretty ugly stuff. And this epic double top, I mean, you can't really even call this a double top. It's so much lower. It's really just a lower high. But I mean, this candle had people massively off sides. This is your March candle. Again, as I said, upper wick means it was green at one point. This was a big, beautiful green candle at one point. Something like this, right? And then it just kind of like vomited. And like a lot of people got trapped here, I imagine, which then caused this leg lower as people just scrambled to get out. So platinum is looking really nice. What about the weekly cycle? Here's the fly in the ointment. We are like, it wouldn't be surprising to get a weekly cycle decline soon, right? So we are just making fresh highs on week 17, and I mentioned this on Twitter. And that's not super early in the weekly cycle, right? Now we had this consolidation, which is that consolidation on the daily chart. This is just a weekly version of it, right? Like this is just a consolidated version of that consolidation within candle, like less candles, because these are weekly candles, obviously. But this is resolved higher. Or I should say it's resolving higher. And so the logical test thing, area that you would want to test is around 1200. Now, the question is, do we make it up there in this weekly cycle, or do we start the weekly cycle decline? Just for frame of reference, this cycle topped out on month 24. If we're just looking back, right, you had one that topped out on month 22. This really bullish one topped out on month 22. So that gives you just like a ballpark. We could easily rally for another 5 weeks here. That would put you on par with this cycle. Again, these two cycles. And I'll get rid of these so it's easier to see this. All right, so you had this cycle that was 22-week rally, and then this cycle that was a 22-week rally, and then you started the more bearish cycles. So could still have a good amount of upside, and then potentially test that, the 1200 area, like something like that. And then you'd want to see that this is like something shallow, right? And then does something like that. And that's the thing that you always want to keep in mind. You're always going to have your weekly cycle pullbacks. You can't avoid them, but you want them to be relatively shallow, resolve in a higher low, and then just kind of keep it moving. So you just kind of want to survive them, as it were. So that is the weekly picture. And if you, again, and so if we think about, right, that's a good, again, I think it's super important to always think about triangulate the cycles. So if we are in a new daily cycle and we know we're on week 17 of the weekly cycle, what if we get like a 50-day cycle, something like that, right? That would put us at, that would give us our low around March, around early March. And so what week would that put us in, right? Okay. So that would be about 28 weeks, which is right in the ballpark, right? Right around 30. So that's another great example of triangulating. We would, so just to be clear, what we're just doing here, it seems like this daily cycle, which is on, this is your weekly cycle. I'll go back to the daily chart. It seems like this daily cycle, which is on day 5, is going to lead us into the ICL, which means it's probably going to be left translated. That's what we would expect. And if it's going to be around 50 days, that means the top is going to come before day 25. Now that's a huge range because we're obviously only on day 5. The point here is we're going to get a pullback. Be prepared. Don't be surprised. Don't be shocked by it and panic sell or anything like that. You want to observe that pullback. Does it hold a higher low? Is it remaining bullish? But so far, this is actually looking really, really promising. And PPLT is the direct play, like just kind of like buying bullion itself. And that is at 99.28. And the level for that one, the next sort of logical level, the equivalent of that 1200 level, I should say, is 110. So another 10% upside. So we probably test that before we pull back into the weekly cycle low based on where it seems like we are in the daily cycle and, triangulating that with the weekly cycle. Because you can see that's your undercut low for PPLT as well. So that's your daily cycle So we're really early in the new daily cycle. So that's really interesting. This could set up a nice risk reward, knowing that you're really relatively early in the daily cycle, but also knowing that it's likely to be left translated. You'd probably want to use some kind of trailing stop or something like that. So let's look at a few miners. So IMPU, I think, is a pretty common one. Let's first kind of look at the monthly. Did they bottom in September? Did this bottom in September as well? So September made a low at 866. Yeah, so we do have a bottom in September. So it's the same playbook as Platinum itself for MPU at least. So that's Impala. The other one I pulled up here is Anglo-American Platinum. That trades on the OTC, the ticker NGLOY. It actually trades on the London Stock Exchange, ticker AAL. So don't mistake that with American Airlines that trades in the US. So in this case, let's look at the monthly. Same picture. Yep, bottom in September. This is definitely looking a little bit weaker. I mean, look at the other ones. They were nice and green. This has been like an inside ugly red month. So certainly, relative strength, this is not looking amazing. How is this looking on the weekly cycle? So this is your last weekly cycle low pretty clearly, right? So the question is, how long a rally have we had since then? So we have a high on week 10, and it's currently week 13. So this actually spells a little bit of trouble because Platinum is making new highs, and this thing is not, right? Or it made a new high this weekly cycle, and this didn't, and it actually closed red. So that's one that I might stay away from. What about IMPU? That's ugly. That is what you call a rising bearish wedge, my friends. That is not going to end well. Okay, that's interesting. And in this case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So week 12. So not the exact same count as Platinum, a little bit earlier in the weekly cycle, but also not looking as bullish. Not like this is not a healthy uptrend, right? Like that, the Platinum trend is healthy. This is not. And if anything, if you look at the right, it's like so. It's a real. This does look like it made a daily cycle low here as well. But if knowing that Platinum is likely to have a left translated sort of cycle, it wouldn't be surprising to see the miners actually take it on the chin, and maybe they have an even rougher cycle, most likely, right? And finally, we'll look at PLG really quickly. I know this one is actually more correlated with Palladium, but this has been a dog for a really long time. I mean, look at this. And I know if you're bullish, I know people will say, oh, well, it looks like, isn't this like, I could see it already, people calling this, a rounded bottom, right? Like this thing here, like you can kind of see it. I mean, we'll see. It's got to get above, what I can say is just looking at this chart really quickly, it's got to get above this cluster of resistance here in this neighborhood. Like so, anywhere from 185 to like 195. But I mean, look at this thing. It's been down only since 2007. Good luck with that one. So that's a quick smattering of the Platinum names. Again, I think it's always important to make sure that you're following the metal and you understand what that's doing. And that's obviously really bullish here. But you do want to make sure that you pick the right horse to back, right? Clearly, just to kind of quick recap, Anglo-American Platinum, probably not it. IMPU seems okay. Like, so this is going to have a pretty ugly correction soon, you would think, just given the steepness of this ascent. Like it might just make the most sense to play it the most direct way with the Sprott ETF. But again, none of this is financial advice, obviously. We will continue to watch these trends, see how they're developing, if they're improving or deteriorating, etc. Right now, Platinum is looking pretty strong. I'll continue to update on Twitter. But definitely, if you like this content, please it helps other people find it. Subscribe if you haven't, if you found value. And make sure you turn on the notification bell. We'll leave it at that. Thanks for watching.